Welcome back to Experience Fit Life, the show where we dig into what it really means to lead well, live well, and sustain your impact without losing yourself along the way. And so today's episode is all about boundaries. And before you roll your eyes or think, yeah, I know I should have made better boundaries, just stick with me. Because boundaries aren't about saying no for the sake of no. They're not walls designed to keep people out. They're actually bridges that protect your energy, that keep you aligned, and that allow you to show up as your best self. So I want to talk to you about why women often feel guilty when it comes to setting boundaries and the cost of living boundaryless as a leader, and practical examples of what healthy boundaries can look like around time, communication, expectations, and how setting boundaries actually models health for your team. So by the end of our conversation, because that's what I want you to feel like we're doing right now, is sitting down for coffee, having a one-on-one conversation. I want you to see boundaries not as selfish, but as one of your most powerful leadership tools. So if we talk about why women often feel guilty setting boundaries, just start with the guilt piece, because for many leaders, especially women, this is the sticking point. So why do so many of us feel bad when we draw a line in the sand? Part of it comes from how many of us were raised or conditioned. We're told that being nice or being helpful, being available is what makes us valuable. It's a nice thing to do here living in Iowa, you call it like Midwest nice. And that saying yes proves our worth, and saying no risks disappointing people. Then add in leadership dynamics. Leaders are often expected to be endlessly available for every email, every meeting, fire drill. And if you're a woman in leadership, there's often the added layer of being a nurturer, the one people can lean on for emotional support or team culture and problem solving that goes far beyond your actual job description. So when you think about setting a boundary, whether it's leaving on time, saying no to an extra project, or shutting your laptop on a weekend, you hear that voice in your head. Am I letting people down? Am I being selfish? Am I making things harder for my team? And that guilt can be powerful. But here's what I want you to remember. Guilt doesn't always mean you're doing something wrong. Sometimes guilt just means that you're breaking a pattern, and breaking unhealthy patterns is exactly what good leadership requires. So if we talk about the leadership cost of having a boundaryless living, because let's be honest, we've all tried it, and you'll answer emails at 10:30 at night. You take on projects you don't have the capacity for. You say yes to every request, every meeting, every favor. And at first it feels good. You feel needed. You feel productive. You feel like you're proving yourself. But over time, here's what happens. Your energy drains. You start showing up tired and resentful and scattered, and your clarity slips. You're so busy reacting to everyone else's priorities that you lose sight of your own. And your influence can weaken because instead of leading strategically, you're constantly firefighting. And so here's the kicker. When leaders live without boundaries, their teams usually follow suit. If you're sending emails at midnight, your team feels pressure to do the same. If you never say no, your team doesn't think they can either. And boundaryless leadership creates cultures of burnout, and burned out cultures do not last. So when you set boundaries, you're not just protecting yourself, you're protecting your entire team. So let's talk about some practical examples of healthy boundaries. And because it's one thing to say you need better boundaries and another thing to actually live it out. So here are 3 areas where boundaries matter the most: time, communication, and expectations. If we talk about time boundaries, time is your most finite resource. Once it's gone, it's gone. So protecting your time is a non-negotiable. Block off deep work time on your calendar and treat it like a meeting you cannot miss. And set a hard stop at the end of the day. Close the laptop, walk away. Don't let work bleed into every hour of your life. And build in margin. Don't stack up your calendar so tightly that one unexpected meeting derails your entire day. Something that helps me is at the end of the day, so that I can feel like I'm mentally closing the laptop, closing that door of work, I write down the 3 to 5 most important things that need to get done as soon as possible tomorrow. And if all else failed and I got nothing else done, these are the things that have to get done. And if I'm really overwhelmed, then I'll create a line and then I'll write, it'd be nice if we could get to these things, so that it's at least on paper and it gives my mind permission to not have to think about it and be worried that I'm going to forget about it. And it is a huge relief being able to go to bed at night knowing you don't have to think about anything, because everything is on paper when I get to my desk tomorrow morning. And then tomorrow morning comes around, you look at the paper, and all you need to focus on is number one, whatever you wrote down as your number one first thing to knock out. So the next thing I want to talk about is communication boundaries. Communication is constant, and without boundaries, it becomes overwhelming. Decide your email or Slack office hours. Maybe you check messages twice a day instead of living in your inbox. Let people know how and when you'll respond. For example, I respond to emails within 24 hours. It just sets a clear expectation. And turn off unnecessary notifications. You don't need your phone buzzing every 5 minutes to prove that you're a good leader. And the expectation boundaries. This is what people can and can't expect from you. Be clear on your role. If something falls outside of your lane, redirect it to the right person and just communicate that it's not in your lane. And when you say yes, mean it. And when you say no, stand by it. Clarity builds trust far more than vague overpromising. And don't rescue every situation. Sometimes letting your team wrestle with a challenge is the best growth opportunity for them, and you're doing them a favor. Boundaries aren't about doing less. They're about making sure that what you do actually matters the most. So how boundaries actually model health for your team. Here's the part that a lot of leaders miss. Boundaries don't just serve you, they serve your team. When you leave work on time, you give your team permission to do the same. When you say no to projects that don't align with priorities, you model focus and alignment. When you shut off notifications after hours, you show that rest matters and it's okay for them to have a work-life balance too. So boundaries do set culture. They create clarity. They protect people. So think about it. Would you rather follow a leader who's exhausted and resentful and always overwhelmed? Or a leader who's energized and clear and present because they know how to manage their capacity? Your team learns more from what you model than what you say. And when you model boundaries, you create healthier, more sustainable leaders at every level. So what I would love for you to take away is that boundaries protect both your energy and your influence. Without them, you run dry. And when you're empty, you cannot lead. And with them, you stay aligned, energized, and effective, not just for today, but for the long run. Boundaries are not selfish. They are strategic. They're not walls, they're bridges. Bridges that connect your leadership to longevity, your influence to sustainability, and your energy to people who need you the most. So here's my challenge for you this week. Pick one boundary to set, just one. Maybe it's a time boundary, like not checking email after 7 p.m. Maybe it's communication, like only scheduling meetings on certain days. And maybe it's an expectation boundary, like being clear with your team about what's on your plate, or maybe what you're expected of. Don't try to overhaul everything at once. Just start small. And remember, guilt is not a sign that you're doing it wrong. It's a sign you're breaking an old pattern. Your team doesn't need a burned out version of you. They need a clear, energized, and healthy version of you. And boundaries are the bridge to get there. So thank you for joining me today on Experience Fit Life. And if this episode encouraged you, share it with another leader who needs this reminder. And if you're ready to dive deeper, I'd love to connect with you for coaching, resources, or our leadership community. Until next time, lead well, live well, and never forget, boundaries don't limit your influence, they protect it.